$1.1 million is a lot of money, but is it enough to last you through your entire retirement?
None of my concern.
Especially if you retire early. We're going to answer some of those questions and a whole lot more on the latest Good Financial Sense podcast. This is episode 127. What's going on, GFC fam and Wealth Hacker Nation? It's your boy Jeff, and it is time to make your life more. Let me say, $1.1 million. That is a lot of money. I know earlier on in my life, I know for a fact that I never thought that I would possess over $1 million. Like, that was just that sum that just seemed unattainable. Fast forward into my career as a financial advisor, to get a client that had over $1 million, like that was this coveted benchmark that early on in my career also seemed impossible. For me to get a client that had a couple $100,000, like that was a big client. That was a client. And then as I got a little older and started working with more clients and also talking to other financial advisors, not only in the area that I live, but also across the United States, I started to realize that it was more common than you would think to have a client with over $1 million. So I ended up having several of those, in my career, and they were all fun to work with because many of them were, when you think of the millionaire next door, that's what this was. Like, they weren't driving Lamborghinis. They weren't living like extravagant homes. They weren't going on vacations like to Italy for weeks on end. Most of these people were hardworking. They worked overtime, they worked weekends, and they also saw the importance and benefit of saving and also investing so that over time they became a millionaire. And I know many of them shared the same thought, the same belief, the same fear is that, hey, look, I have saved, I have scraped, I have put away, I have invested. Now I have $1 million. Is it enough to retire, or am I going to run out? And for many, $1 million is more than enough. Like, that is more than enough to last them through retirement. But what happens if they retire early? And that's what we're talking about today. So today I'm actually answering another reader question. And for those that want to submit a question, you can go to wealthhackerlabs.com/ask. And when you go there, you'll see the contact form. You can enter that in, or you also have the ability to leave a recording. I think you can record up to 90 seconds if you want to ask a question. You just have to be clear and concise and make sure to ask that question within 90 seconds. Or if you don't trust yourself answering or asking a question in 90 seconds or less, you can also just use the contact form there. But once again, you can go to wealthhackerlabs.com/ask to submit that question. So today, once again, we are answering a reader question. And this question comes from Byron. And this is what Byron has to ask. So Byron says, hey, or hello, I have 1.1 million in my 401k and will be retiring at the age of 56. So in January 2022, at the time of this recording, it sounds like he's already retired, or maybe he's put it off. Who knows? Who would you recommend that I have manage my account after retirement? I want and I love this quote, the best bang for the buck, and I still want it to perform well. Thank you for your time, Byron. I love it. The best bang for the buck. Well, I don't know if I can answer the question as far as the best bang for your buck, Byron, but we can talk a little bit about who you could have manage your account, and also just want to talk about some of the, I won't say some of the concerns, but some of the fears I would have if I was working with you, or anybody for that matter, that has $1 million that wants to retire. But the key here is we're not retiring at the, more of I'll say normal age of retirement, whether it be 60, 62, or 65. Byron is looking to retire at 56. So this is a lot earlier than typically what you see. And, in my experience, when I see folks that are trying to retire early, the fear that we all have is, do you have enough? Or, are you going to outdraw what you have and eventually not have enough to bridge you until the last days that you're here on this earth? Now, before I answer the first part of Byron's question, as far as like who should I have manage my account, manage my portfolio, I want to read his question again and really just point out something that I also have some concern with. So it says, who would you recommend that I have manage my account after retirement? After retirement, not before retirement. And so what I'm hearing is that, Byron is going to pull the plug. He's going to pull the plug. He's going to retire, and then he wants somebody to manage his account. I want to safely assume that, Byron has ran all of the numbers. He has ran all of the projections, and he has a good sense that this is going to be enough. Now, keep in mind, like, I am a, certified financial planner. So when I go into financial planning mode, there are so many more questions that I have, in Byron's situation. Does Byron have a spouse? Does she have any retirement? Is there any sort of pension? What are Social Security benefits going to look like? What about their debt situation? What are their plans in retirement? How much are they going to need? Does he truly know how much he needs to live on per month? What about their health and family history of health? These are all these questions like that start spiraling in my head, and just as you can see, like, this is where we get scared, right? And I have been in situations where I've seen people retire early where they've done all the planning. They have done all the projections, but things happen and their health fails them, or there's some sort of other family emergency or personal emergency that forces them to dip into their retirement accounts that they hadn't planned on. Or the other factor, and this is a huge one, is underestimating how much you're going to spend in retirement, and not for the health stuff that I just talked about, but for the I'll say the selfish stuff. And not selfish like in a bad way, but it's the vacations, it's the buying new things, home improvements, just going out to eat, taking trips, just all these little factors that, like, oh, well, I don't really plan on, spending all that much, and I'm going to watch my spending. And next thing I know, it's like, wait, you want to take your entire family to Disney World, including their grandkids, and you want to pay the entire airfare and hotels and food? Like, that wasn't in our plan. And this is actually, I'm not just making this up. This is a true story of a past client where, wow, okay, like, I didn't know that. You didn't mention that whenever we talked about retirement and what your needs are and how much you're going to spend. And now you spring this family vacation and that you're going to spend all this money. Like, literally, it was like $20,000 to $30,000 that they were going to spend that we didn't budget, like we didn't factor for, because it was never brought up. So in Byron's case, I don't like hearing the who should I hire after I retire. To me, Byron needs to meet with somebody, a qualified financial professional that can give them the green light that they are good to go, that he is good to go, that he has covered in all his bases, he has all his I's dotted, his T's crossed, and he has accounted for everything that the best that he can, that this is a go, that he is good to go, as I like to say, as far as like kind of a military term. But as far as like, who could this be? And there's really only one direction I would say, and that would be a certified financial planner, a CFP. This is what I am, which is, once again, I'm not a quote unquote practicing CFP at the moment. I still have the credentials, but since I sold my practice and no longer work with clients individually, but I still keep the CFP designation. Like, this is something that I will never let go. And I'm just a big fan of CFPs because we take a comprehensive financial planning approach. So right now, if you're watching this on YouTube, I am pulling up the CFP website. You can go to cfp.net. And then at the very top, there's a little button. You can do this on your phone as well. You click on Find a CFP Professional, and then you can enter in your location, where you live, zip code, state, etc. And then within 25 miles, you will find a CFP professional that you might be able to work with, depending on if there is certain minimums that sometimes, like some CFPs and all financial planners, not to say CFPs, but some investment firms have minimums, so they may not work with you if you don't have $1 million. And so you have to kind of go through that to find. And then from there, I would pick at least 2 or 3 that seem like a good fit, that seem to match what you're trying. And what I would suggest that you're looking for here is somebody that specializes in retirement planning, which most CFPs do, but also looking for income distribution. You're looking for CFPs that this is their main focus of taking what you currently have, all your retirement assets, and helping you derive a retirement income stream that will last you for the rest of your life. So once again, you can go to cfp.net, click on the little Find CFP Professional, and that is where I would refer anybody. With the CFP, you subscribe to a certain code of ethics. You act as a fiduciary, meaning that you put the client's best interest at heart and also in mind. So it's hard not to recommend CFPs. Once again, I am not sponsored by the CFP board in any way, but I have worked with a lot of good CFPs. I have networked with a ton of CFPs, and they all have one thing in common. And that is just making sure that the client's best interest is, put first and foremost. And that is a big deal. It's a huge deal. All right. So that is who I would suggest that you manage. But also, just want to bring up just some of the concerns I have. And maybe you already know this, but just to show you how quickly things can change even when we're talking about a sizable portfolio. And from there, there are so many of these financial calculators that you can find online. And I feel like every time I do one of these, Bankrate is the one that I tend to, I won't say defer to, but anytime I do a quick Google search, that's just what comes up. So just I went to Bankrate, and let me get this so you can see it. So this is a savings withdrawal calculator. Once again, they've got a ton of calculators. I don't even know if this was the right one. I just tried to pick something that was just easy to use. And what I'm looking at here, right? So I'm entering in $1.1 million. That's our starting amount. I just did 30 years of withdrawal. So we're talking 30 years. If Byron is retiring at 56, that pushes us out to 86, which is definitely realistic. It could be a possibility. We're looking at a 4% rate of return. Could we go higher? Yeah, for sure. We could go higher. But the reason why I'm looking at 4% right now is because for the most part, when people retire, they tend to go more conservative with their investments, with their portfolio. So I feel like 4%, it's a good starting point, right? Just to kind of give us a gauge of what this looks like. And then I started with a monthly withdrawal of $3,666 per month. And I just took 4% of the $1.1 million. Which is, about 4%. And just if you want to annualize that, you're looking at roughly about $44,000 a year of income that we are taking from this portfolio. Now, a couple things here, I'm not taking into account taxes, right? We're pulling money out of a 401k. So we're pulling money out of a 401k. There is going to be taxes that have to be paid. I am not taking that to account here. So this is more just a general calculation. So please keep that in mind. All right. So going back to this calculation, we got $36.66 per month we're taking out. So if I just do a quick calculate on that, it shows, this is, I'll say compelling, but I want to show you this because this is how somebody could use one of these calculators and get a false confidence that they're going to be okay. Because what this is showing is that your estimated total after 30 years is just under 1.1 million. So you actually have almost everything left that you started with. And you can look at here, it's there's your starting balance, 30 years, you're taking this out, total amount withdrawn. So you took out 1.3 million and you still have 1 million left over. Wow, that's great. Now, if you continue to go and look at these numbers, A couple things you'll also notice is that the withdrawals are staying consistent. We're taking out 44,000 a year. That never goes up. Like there is no ever change to that. No deviation. Interest also is staying the same. We're constantly earning 4%. For those that are in the market, that you may average 4%, but you don't make 4% year after year after year unless you are buying a CD paying you 4%, a bond paying you 4%. But as far as I know, like those don't exist today in this marketplace with interest rates being at all-time lows. This is like almost like fairy tale land where everything is perfect. Everything is consistent. There is no volatility. Oh, everything just looks great. Yes, I can retire. Now, and I already mentioned this earlier, we're not even talking about taxes. Either way, I just wanted to show you this as an example, but let me just show you real quick. If we just make one change on this, just one change. So let's say we increase our monthly distribution, our monthly income. I don't know if I said decrease or increase, but we're going to increase it. So we're going to increase it from $36.66 on up to $5,000. Which we annualize that's $60,000 per year, which really, that's not a far stretch. Like, I don't know where Byron lives. I don't know his cost of living. I don't know if he still has a mortgage. I don't know about his insurance. So really, $60,000 a year is not a lot of money and not unrealistic. And once we do that calculation, check this out. Now, instead of having 1.09 million left over, there's only 163,000 left over. And we can run the report. You can just see how it just continues to drain and drain and drain because we're only making our 4%. That still stays the same. And withdrawals are staying the same. But because we're now taking out more than that 4%, we start to deplete our portfolio. Now, the good news here is that there is still money left over. I mean, there's still 163,000 left over. So it's not like we went into the red, went into the negative. So that's good. And for the most part, like if you're trying to like plan this out, the idea is not to, almost said the idea is not to have money left over. Now, if your kids heard you say that, they'd be like, what do you mean that's the plan? Meaning that, you want to stretch this out until, for the most part, like you have nothing left, and anything left over, that's the inheritance that you can leave for your kids. But, if you time this out as best as you can, if you can have close to nothing left over, then that means great. If you lived the life that you wanted, if you took all the trips that you wanted to do, you never felt like you struggled financially during your retirement years, then that is a good thing. But I just wanted to show that because just by increasing from $3,000 to $5,000 per month, we're looking at a difference of almost $1 million left over. And I wanted to share that because, once again, we're not talking about taxes here. We're not talking about variation on rates of return. We're not taking into account bear markets. Like what happens if we actually have like a down year? Like all these factors could happen. And by far, one of the biggest concerns on top of all this is the timing of it all. Right now, the stock market is at an all-time high. We haven't had a bear market in almost 13 years. It's going to happen. And if this were to happen in the first couple years of Byron's retirement or anybody that retires, like those first few years are crucial. And if we have a recession, a correction, a pullback, a bear market, if we experience any of that in the first few years where we see a 10%, 20%, 30% drop in our portfolio. So instead of having 1.1 million, now we have 750,000 and we're drawing down that $5,000 a month, $60,000 a year. This is where all of a sudden, ouch, like it doesn't work. Either we can't retire or we have to postpone retirement or we have to go back to work or we have to cut our spending. Like all of these plans of vacation homes and trips and doing all these things, spoiling our grandchildren, home improvements, like whatever those are, all of a sudden now we can't do it. You still might be able to retire early, but it's not going to be the retirement that you hoped. I can remember back in 2008, I had several clients that had planned on retiring, similar to Byron. Like they had it all mapped out, had everything, all their boxes checked, everything looked like they were ready to go. Bam, 2008 happens, and now, they were diversified. I'm not saying these people were not like 100% in the stock market. Like they definitely had a good allocation of stocks and bonds. Even still, they saw a 20% drop or more on their portfolio. And could they have retired? They probably still could have, but it wouldn't have been the retirement that they had hoped or that they had wanted. So that is like one of many concerns. I mean, there are a lot of concerns, and these are good concerns. Like these are all good concerns, at least good questions, to run through all these different what if scenarios. If you haven't done that yet and you're trying to force the issue and retire early just for the sake of retiring early, you might find yourself in a situation that you may end up regretting. And that's what I'd want you to avoid. So that's why working with a CFP and just getting a second set of eyes to make sure that you have looked at everything. It's so important. It's like I would never submit my tax return, without my CPA doing a double take. I would never go in for a major surgery without somebody looking at it and looking at the x-rays and make sure that everything shows like that is what is needed. I'm not going to trust my own opinion, and I may not even accept the first opinion. I may get a second opinion just to make sure, because what we are talking about here is a major life decision. All right, y'all. Hope you enjoyed this podcast answering Byron's question, and I hope if you find yourself in a early retirement situation that I've given you some things, some questions to start asking yourself to see, is this the best time for you? Is this the best fit? And if it all makes good financial sense. Once again, if you want to submit a question, you can go to wealthhackerlabs.com/ask, and you can ask any question. It could be anything about investing, retirement planning, entrepreneurship, online business, blogging, being a dad. I don't care what it is. I would love to answer any questions you may have for me. Just go to, once again, wealthhackerlabs.com/ask, and you can ask away. All right, y'all. Until next time, this is Jeff Rose reminding you that it's your money, it's your life, and only you can make it awesome. Until next time, peace.